Let's talk about truth, belief, knowledge, and the flat earth theory. One of the most important aspects of the flat earth theory is that it focuses us to ask ourselves, how do we distinguish what we know to be true from what we simply believe to be true? Some people turn to science for help with this, but real science can never offer us truth. The best science can ever say is, here's a useful theory that seems to describe the elements of our world in a way in which it's useful to us for our current purposes. The conclusions drawn aren't truth. They're simply our best understanding of our reality based on the limited information we have available to us in this particular moment. Science can look at swans and collect data about their color. The collected data can be analyzed, put through a statistical analysis software, interpreted through ideas about colors and feathers, and from this, we can draw the conclusion that all swans are white. We can replicate this study and come to the same conclusion again and again. And then some lunatic from the lunatic fringe might come along claiming to have seen a black swan, but he's crazy. Black swan conspiracy theorists. So science, as it's practiced today, will ignore him or simply mock him and ridicule him because we don't have the time for a meeting of the Black Swan Society.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
We don't have the time for a meeting of the Black Swan Society.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Until someone with influence, prestige, power, and accreditation within the science community steps forward and says, most swans are white, but some are black. The flat earth theory is very much about insisting that science can be done by individual citizens, that our voices are legitimate. It's about the freedom of speech required at the individual level for you to be able to say, I know that some swans are black. I've seen a black swan. When scientism, as a religion of the state, is insisting that all swans are white and your neighbors are mocking you and ridiculing you for saying that some swans are black.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Some swans are black.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
It's about freedom of thought, to establish for ourselves what we believe to be true, rather than having to accept what other rulers tell us is true, or what the high priests of scientism tells us is true when their proclamations are based on experiments that we can't verify, much less replicate. We can't build particle colliders in our basement and test for ourselves that the Higgs boson really does exist. It's about the power to dissent, to refuse to conform to groupthink, to refuse to pretend to believe in what the group and its leaders have decided we should believe, what we must believe in order to be respected as equals in our societies. In the 1950s, the world was promised a bright future where we would have colonies on the moon, flying cars, holidays in space, and affordable housing for everyone, and glass and metal towers reaching up to the skies. Instead, many people find themselves in a dystopic condition today, drowning in debt from a 30-year mortgage for houses not much improved since the 50s, or tiny apartments in glossy high rises that cost them 50% of their income in rent and no hope of ever owning their home. Adults and taxpayers are saddled with debts and student loans that, didn't lead them to a stable, well-paid salaried job that they had envisioned. In medicine, the hoped-for panaceas of what we feel science promised us have yet to be found by a medical establishment that our government can no longer afford to fund. And yet, our institutions keep promising us, give us more taxpayer money in another 10 years, we'll fly you to the moon for a well-deserved adventure. But at the end of the 10 years, another 10 years are found to be needed. And in the 67 years since the Americans have landed on the moon, supposedly, we have yet to send anyone back for a holiday. Scientism isn't meeting the needs of human beings, and the results of scientism isn't improving society for the average person. Real science can improve our lives by helping us to make a sense of our world and a place within it. But blind faith, devotion to science as the source of all truth and the only source of knowledge about the world fails to provide us with truth because the underlying science is always providing new theories. Truth is always changing. More importantly, it's failing to provide us with a sense of meaning that makes the suffering of life bearable. Whereas flat earth theory offers us access to deeper meaning, deeper truths, flat earth is about freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and the freedom to dissent from what our rulers decide to impose upon us as truth for today. So, go research flat earth because freedom matters.
But can you do this?